And, I mean, you talk about libraries. In the rural areas, you've actually got the mobile library. So that would be quite a good way of promoting our service and shared services, I would have thought. If you've got somebody on board who could deal with people's queries. Because, again, it is the vulnerable, the elderly, who are more isolated.
Yeah, fully endorse that. And things like there will be local fire stations in villages as well. There are a whole range of community facilities that we can work with. Whereas I think the approach before as well, well, we need lots of one-stop shops. Not necessarily the case.
No, I actually think that we're in danger of becoming... I don't think the culture of Quack is anything like the culture of Cheshire County Council. I think it's very, very different. But the one thing that you're in danger of becoming is remote. The county was always perceived as being remote. It's just as likely that we will be seen as remote.
That's certainly not the intention. I think it's fair to say, I said in my opening remarks, that I think we've got a long way to go on localism. New models will emerge. I think in terms of the message about being remote, I would just say in terms of the message that we are moving it forward, it's important that we're not remote. I think it's the approach that this council has adopted working with its parish council. They've seen a good development there in the way we're working with its umbrella organisation, Chelk, and certainly to the discussions that are taking place with the parish council on an individual basis. I think that's something that's going well. It needs to be a lot better. But again, compared to what happened before, what occurred before, I think it's very promising the way that's emerging. And I use that as an example to highlight the point that this council is determined that it will not be at a distance from its customers. On top of that, I think, well, again, so just one further example, which gives real meat to it, is that this council has already adopted a policy of community asset transfer. And that's actually saying where local people are better managing their local land and local buildings, this council will allow that to happen and support that. Now, again, that's something that, as far as I'm aware, previous authorities did not operate.
I beg to differ. Cheshire were actually one of the 12 authorities chosen to, what's the word when you start it on? Pilot, thank you. And Councillor Johnson knows because we transferred Dunham Hill Primary School to the local community.
Okay. Can I just draw this session to an end? We've already run 15 minutes in this particular one. There is one final question I'm aware of that hasn't been asked to you, Chief Executive. Can you be very, very succinct in answering the final question, which is all about involving the role of members? I'm sure you'll be able to say that reports to ONS and to full council winding later is deplorable and you're doing everything that changes. The work yes will do, just in relation to answering that question. But more importantly, could you deal with the question regarding the Star Chamber and challenge sessions?
Sorry, what's that question? So, Chair, which question is that?
It's question 6 on section 3.
Could you read it out, please? Sorry.
I can read that to you. What do you see the role of the members in the new council, and how can you get them to influence increase the member engagement? Well, because we have a Star Chamber and a budget setting process, basically it's through the executive, but the members feel that they're a little bit alienated by not being able to put their points across.
Okay. I think there's a number of points to be made here. Let's first of all be very clear. This council is a member-led council. That's what this council is made it clear it's about. What do we mean by that? Ultimately, this council is led by an executive of the majority group. And the role of myself as the chief executive is to support the leader of the council, both giving him advice and then ultimately working with his cabinet, delivering the policies that his cabinet has set. And that is the power that has been ordained to the leader and the executive by the council. That is the system that we operate. The leader is very clear. He wants to involve as many members as possible, hence the development of policy development boards. I think there is a view that I myself, as the Chief Executive, should be more involved with members. I have a very clear view on that. My job is to administer the council. My job is not to be a political leader. There are 3 political leaders who do that job. That is not my role. Similarly, though, in the early days of this council, what is clear is that we do need to support members more as officers in carrying out the duties that they carry out. So, for example, the work of Scrutiny chairs, I don't think that as senior officers we've done enough on that. I think that's been around the time that's been available. I've had discussion with the chairman of this commission about how we can do that, and it is planned that I will come to the Scrutiny chapter so we can talk more about how senior officers can work with senior members of Scrutiny. There is also a role for officers to work closer with members in their role as community champion and their role on community forums. And again, that's another role that we need to develop over the next 12 months. I think lastly, what isn't happening in the new council, perhaps it's happened in the previous district councils, we don't have the day-to-day contact between myself and senior officers that you would have in a district council because of the geography of this new council. It is much bigger, and obviously a lot of the activity takes place outside normal office hours. So compared to other authorities I've worked with, I see less on a casual basis of day-to-day members, and where we're able to talk informally about particular problems. What I am doing is, in the new year, is I am setting in place, which will be an annual event, is where I will meet with ward councillors and appropriate officers that ward councillors wish to have present, and we will have ward visits and talk about what the issues are for members in their wards, so that we can again get cut to the chase in terms of what are the real problems on the ground for members when members feel that the council is not delivering. And lastly, there is the whole issue of member development. If we're going to be that great council and one of the best in the UK, we need great members and we need to invest in that. And already, I don't think you should underestimate the work that's been done in terms of the work that's been done in developing members. We've already received 1 award for that. As we speak, members are going through one-to-one interviews, looking at how they've come from, how things have moved on in the first 6 months. And out of those appraisals, we'll be identify a whole range of things that members want to develop further. And again, that will have a cost, and we will build that into the budget setting process that's set in February next year. So I think we've achieved a lot. We need to achieve a lot more, but at the same time, we do have to accept that ultimately this is a much larger organisation than perhaps what most of you worked for before.
Thanks, Chairman. First of all, very briefly on the phone number issue, eventually a message was taken, but the action would take place on a Monday morning, and the incursion was Friday night, which gave the people carrying out the unlawful development several days to do something. So we might even get a number, but if nothing's going to happen until the next week, well then we all know when we should do this. My specific question, though, is on the legal action. If a planning application for such a thing is received, and if the planning application is turned down, and if that application goes to appeal, will you commit to, rather than sending a planning officer to face an expert barrister, will you commit this council to provide the best legal support it can for this council's case, to defend this council's reputation and our residents?